It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Star Tribune columnist Patrick Reusse with me as usual. Patrick, it was an eventful weekend in Minnesota sports, but I dare say nothing shook the world quite like the late Saturday night trade. Became official Sunday. Press conferences, all the good stuff. Luka going to the Lakers. Dallas getting back Anthony Davis and a first-round pick. Max Christie, brother.
That's it. And they gave up a couple of players, and it is really weird, to say the least. And I'm reading more today. They never told the coaches it was coming. Neither of the coaches were told it was coming. Apparently, it was just with ownership approval, and obviously the Lakers would approve.
Right.
Ownership approval that they made this unbelievable trade, and then basically Anthony Davis is hurt and misses lots of games in his old age, and he's 35 years older than Doncic, and Dallas is. I guess Dallas is trying to get out of the second apron like everybody else.
Yeah.
Is that it? And plus, they were a little disappointed in him being fat and being hurt at times, and they don't like his conditioning, and it seems like they convinced themselves that he's going to start falling off here because he's out of shape all the time. But they should recall 2 years ago he tried getting in shape and wasn't as good as he was last year when he was fat.
Right.
So I don't know. It is unbelievable, but he's got to be happy. He gets to go to L.A.
I would think so.
LeBron's probably going to leave after this year, and maybe not now, but if LeBron leaves, I guess I read something that they figure they need the guy. They need somebody to be their, they're the Lakers, and they got to have the best of the best. And they decided this was the guy they could get, who could be the chubby face of the franchise for the next 6 or 7 years, huh? So
it's just wild. Like he's 6 or 7 years younger than.
I think he's only 25, right?
He's 25, 25. Davis is like 31, 32. I mean, Davis is still good. Davis is still a great player. Like it's not like they didn't get a good player back, but how long Davis is going to be a great player is just naturally shorter than.
And isn't his contract? He doesn't have a lot of time left on it, does he? Maybe
I think
2 years or something.
I think he's got a few more years left on his contract.
Okay.
Like they're not exactly like. It's not like they're shedding all this long-term salary. And also, if they're worried about injuries, like Davis is hurt all the time, too.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Nobody gets it. I would
imagine the last, 4 years, Doncic's played a whole lot more games than Davis has. So
I would think so. Yeah, he took them to the finals last year. Like, that was not a great team. He, carried them. I mean, Kyrie obviously too, and they're big guys, but Luka is one of the 3 or 5 best players in the league. I don't think you'd say that about Anthony Davis, even as good as he is. I don't know.
I wonder, the other thing is, if you're making that trade in Dallas, don't you have to call in Kyrie beforehand and tell him it's coming and see what he says about it? Because I got news for you. Kyrie can say he's hurt and lay down and not play for a month, better, just as good as anybody else. Okay, and he had, they've been getting the best out of him. But remember, last year he led them on that playoff run with Doncic, but he missed most of the season, didn't he? Last year, so
he missed a lot of it. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, my friend Sean Sweeney is the defensive coach down there. He might be happy. He's getting a better. If Davis plays, he's getting a better defender. That's for sure. But it is you're putting a lot of faith in your fan base to keep buying tickets in Dallas, making that trade, because they could turn on you in a heartbeat, don't you think, and stop.
Oh yeah. I didn't corroborate this. I only saw this in passing on social media somewhere, so I don't know if this is true. But someone said the Mavericks lost hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers in 24 hours after the trade. Just people are just mad, and that's not worth a whole lot of money. You can't, there's a tangible, way to calculate how much that's worth, but it's not we don't know if they're going to stop buying tickets.
It wasn't people that were on a Doncic Instagram account. It was just people mad at the Mavericks.
It was the Dallas Mavericks. It was the Dallas Mavericks team
base
account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's you're putting a lot of faith in the fan base. I don't know. But the cat trade's certainly no longer the biggest shock of the NBA season, to say the least.
Look,
this is amazing.
You see the reaction on social media. It's everyone's saying this is the biggest trade, the most shocking trade that they can remember in decades in the NBA. Yes. Especially the timing of it. Two all NBA guys getting swapped for each other in the dark of night, in early February before the trade deadline. It was.
Dallas
that was actually up for it, but
Dallas is having a lousy year, because they've had injuries, and they've had injuries and other things, and but Kyrie's played most of the time and is playing pretty well. I don't know, they're a little thin, I guess, but now the fact that the personnel that they got is incredible. And now we had another one. Our guy Zach got traded last night, right?
Yeah.
Zach
part of the De'Aaron Fox trade, which impacts.
There's another team that we now have another team in the West that's better than the Timberwolves. Put De'Aaron Fox with the big guy, and San Antonio is probably better than you are. I like Fox.
Yes.
I love Fox. So it's interesting. Now the Lakers are certainly better, but I think you can write off Dallas as a team that you got to beat out to make the playoffs this year.
People, what I've been reading is they think Dallas might actually get a little benefit from this in the short term, just because Davis is still a great player and Luka's hurt right now. But I don't know.
Davis is hurt now too, and who knows who's going to be the quickest?
I know.
Davis is not known as the fastest healer in the history of the NBA, and I love him as a player, but it is incredible, and so I gotta think. I don't even know who the GM is in Dallas. It's Palenka out in the former
it was
out in L.A.
Nico Thompson, I think I want to say his name is.
But Cuban had to be in on this for sure, I would think.
Well, no, Cuban's not the owner. Cuban's not the owner anymore. Yeah.
He's he's still getting paid or something, right? Isn't he? I don't know. He doesn't have that's right. He sold it to some conglomerate, right? Didn't he, or something?
Yeah. So I don't know if he would have ever authorized the sale of a 25-year-old superstar.
That doesn't sound like something he would do, but that's right. He's out, and
he's out.
I don't know. He must not. Is he not down there in the front row, acting like a lunatic anymore? Then is he?
I don't know. I see him more on social media than anything. But that Fox trade. Just thinking about it, Wolves play the Kings tonight. I'm going to that game, so I wonder what the zombie Kings are going to look like. Do they get?
Well, who ended up with Zach then? Them?
They did, yeah.
But I suppose the trade it probably hasn't. Zach probably can't play until the
I wouldn't think so.
Trade is 100% improved or something.
Right, 100, yeah. He probably.
I don't know. I wouldn't be fully confident in our banged up Wolves beating anybody.
That's true.
After losing to the Fighting Wiz.
That's true. That's true.
I think to switch streams here, we found out just how bad they can be without Edwards.
Yes, yeah, lose to Washington without Edwards. I mean, no Randall in that game either because he's got the.
Well, that's okay.
And that complicates their any kind of trade deadline thoughts they might have had. I don't know.
Yes, right too. What's his injury? What are they saying?
It was a groin. It was like groin, right groin. Yeah,
some of them will keep you out forever.
He came down holding it, and I was like, "Oh, did he get kneed in a sensitive area?" But no, it was looks like one more of those soft tissue.
Kaprizov came back for one game from his groin, right? So
it was 3. He came back for 3, but yeah.
Okay, now he's out again. Having surgery on his groin. So on his lower body, groin.
Lower body.
His lower body groin. That's where the groin is. So
Ted Danson would be proud.
yes. Anyway,
Groin injury.
it is a shocker, and I don't know what Dallas was thinking. I really don't.
I don't know. Sometimes we just don't know what these guys are thinking. You when we were texting about this last night, you said to me, "Remind me to tell you about the cat trade." What's this all about?
Well, I happened to be in the older vehicle yesterday, I think, and maybe Saturday, and so I only got old time radio on it, right?
Okay.
I just have either AM or FM, and I was listening to whatever K-Fan has on a Saturday afternoon when they don't have a game, I think it was, or Sunday. Some of it was Fox Sports, and this guy's going on about the cat trade is the most lopsided trade in the NBA in history, and just because some cheap owner didn't want to have the second apron and didn't want to pay cat. This is a Tim Connolly trade because he doesn't want to be functioning in the second apron. As far as I'm knowing, neither Glenn Taylor nor the prospective new owners, if they end up winning the arbitration, which should be coming up this week probably, or felt that they wanted to trade Cat because they didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to be in the second apron, and it was Tim Connolly doing what he thought was best for the franchise, I think. Don't you?
Yeah. I think so.
To flatly state with no information, because this was just a guy babbling, but a former player, I'm not sure who it was. But it's, and just going on and on like he knew everything that was going on, and you could tell he didn't know a damn thing. So
that's what That's what they do.
I know. It's incredible. And, it's like a Twitter parody, except it's not a parody. It's just guys talking, trying to fill 3 hours of NBA talk when I did sports talk on Saturdays for a 2-hour shift, and then we did Mondays with Such, and we came in and babbled, but everybody knew we were babbling. Nobody knew. They didn't expect any information. They didn't expect flatly anyone telling them this is what is going on. They were, because we were more apt to be talking about our golf games than anything that was important. But it is, if you listen to sports talk, national sports talk on the radio is the biggest bunch of crap there is.
Oh, it's like Twitter read out loud. It's just like Twitter read out loud.
Just people talking and trying to act things up. And certainly, the Knicks, by the way, the last game the old Lakers played before this game, right? They beat the Knicks in New York.
Clobbered them.
After the Knicks had been putting up 140.
Yeah.
And, and running everybody out of the gym. So I don't know. They've had some bad losses, too, with the Cat Man. And he missed 3 games and came back. But although I did hear someone in New York say, and then I was looking it up, that Tibbs has himself a 9-man rotation.
Whoa.
Which now he's playing 9 guys, which is more than our guy plays.
It's true. A lot of times
he's forced into. We're mad at him, right, for not playing Dillingham much in the second half, right?
We always are. We're always mad about something with the rotations.
Because he decided he got mad at something Dillingham did and stopped playing him. But anyway. Yeah, that's to switch here. That's a bad loss. I don't care how many guys you got hurt. When you lose to the Wiz, when you lose to a team which was 1-21 on the road before that game, and they were on their second 16-game losing streak of the season, that's a bad loss.
That's a bad loss. This one hurts, and they had been better at that this year, lately at least. They had they will mess around with teams.
Slow starts, but then they come back and take over in the second half.
Right.
But this one, they never. They got 2-3 points ahead of them, but then they faded again, and now who knows who's going to be on the court? Randall's hurt. You were saying that.
Well, Ant was sick, so maybe Ant will be back.
He'll play tonight. But what was it? A groin injury for Randall?
Yes, groin injury for Randall. I believe it was.
That'll be a while then.
Yeah,
that'll be a while. And,
that's not great.
Yeah, there goes. You're right. There goes their chances of trading in the trading deadline.
Deadline's Thursday. Thursday. So
Luka gets some time. Maybe I was surprised after Luka's good game to have Coach Finch say he's one of his favorite guys he's ever coached. You must like him so well. You like him sitting next to you. Is that right? That was weird to say the least. But anyway, the West is the West is tougher now with Darren Fox going to San Antonio. They're going to be a playoff team now too. So there's an outside chance these boys are 9 or 10. Or 11. There's an outside chance that they're. I don't think they can stay out of the play-in now. I don't see it.
Here's the weird thing: is I had that same thought, and then I go to Basketball Reference probably more than I should, but I hadn't checked their little they've got a playoff probabilities kind of thing. And again, it's not worth the paper. It's not even printed on. It's not even printed, but
it's numbers. They are dealing with numbers.
It's numbers, and they're dealing with simulations, and they've got what looks to be, now they've got a tough stretch coming up, but they've got what looks to be the easiest remaining schedule in the Western Conference this season. They've got a bunch of they got Oklahoma City a few times the rest of this month, but the last 6 weeks of the schedule is cake. And they're saying they run all the numbers. They're saying this is a 48-win team. Now they probably get some bonus points from whatever happened last year. There's probably some formula, but they're saying this is a 48-win team. That this is before the Wizards lost, but before that, I looked it up. That has a 75% chance of being a top 6 seed. I'm like, really? That's not the eye test I see. That's not what I'm getting. That's not the vibe I'm getting.
They were having their best little stretch of the season.
Yes.
Got to 6 games over before the. But anybody who's watched them all year, where you really guys getting hurt. Once you saw that Edwards wasn't going to play, was it going to be any shock to you at all that they lost to the worst team and one of the 5 worst teams in the history of the franchise? No. I mean, in the history of the NBA. No, it wasn't, because they can go out there and play down to everybody.
Yes.
The other thing is not having DiVincenzo kills them because he was starting to make shots, and boy, do they need that. They need that.
Well, he's taking out of the starting lineup.
Though, that Jaden McDaniels should have went 27.
He was pretty good.
12-5, but he's got to win that game by himself with everybody not out there. He's playing against the damn Wizards, for that.
I agree. What did he have? He had 23. He had 23 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. I'm not putting that one on him.
I guess maybe not. But when down the stretch, I want him to win the game for me when I'm playing the worst team in the league. But what the heck?
The other that game was maybe an example of when the guys that you love in those short bursts that the fans are clamoring for, when they get asked to do a little bit more than they've been asked to do. You get Jalen Clark, who's been this kind of revelation. Yeah. He was a -11 in that game. Luka Garza, 0 for 6 in 11 minutes. He never missed a shot, but he didn't do anything.
Luka, right there, that's your chance to get 14, go get 14 points and don't go 0 for 6. So, terrible. You look back at their season and not remembering that the guys lost. When it's all over, you'd say, they lost to the Wizards,
right?
So,
speaking of Luka Garza,
my niece's husband is the chef for the Wizards out in D.C. I told you that.
Yeah, remember you said
I was taunting them on the morning of the game. I send her a text about the Wizards are in town, and boy, are we excited, and making fun of her. Then I had to text her back and say, never underestimate the Wizards. So,
No. I was just saying, did you see that when the Devin Booker from the Suns was told of right after their game that night. I think they were the last game. That was the only one in progress. Yeah. Someone told him that Luka got traded. He's like, Luka Garza? Well, what are we talking about here? Like, he couldn't believe that Luka Doncic had been traded. That was his response to a reporter after the game.
Yeah, the NBA. I mean, it's the rumor mill on the NBA here. Used to be the best when you had Wojo and then Shane came along, and these guys, and there was nothing ever done in secret. And they had Connolly defeated them 2 years in a row.
Yes,
blockbusters,
right?
And then and now this, nobody had a hand that was coming. So the ESPN with all the money they're paying Sham now must be saying, "Oh, what the hell's going on here?" So
now, do you believe the report that LeBron found out about it after the fact at dinner, or do you think he had to know? Didn't he? You don't do this without LeBron's blessing, right?
It would just be pure speculation, but
of course.
Even. Because they certainly can't let it out that LeBron was told and the coaches weren't, and nobody else was told. So even if LeBron knew, and Palenka's, I mean, he brought LeBron there, wasn't he? If they did, they got to keep it a big secret that it happened. But I would think so. This will cut into Bronny's playing time, though. Huh?
Yeah, but he probably
we had Bronny back. We had Bronny back the other day for a few minutes. He had a shift, and I guess he was horrible.
Yes, they had to apologize for playing him. Yes, JJ Redick was like, "I probably shouldn't have put him out there for so long. That wasn't fair." It was his first real stint since he played against the Wolves on opening night.
Yeah, he got 31 in the G League though one night. So LeBron must have said, "You got to give him another shot here" or something.
Yeah,
they'll probably be if he leaves and doesn't want to come back to LA, they gotta be happy, don't they? Now that they made the Luka trade. I mean, he plays good, but he's
still great. Yeah, I don't know. I think they might like to see a full year of those guys together, but I don't know.
It could be. It could be the excuse for having them, but payroll is going to be rather floppy to say the least. But doesn't Luka? Has Luka gotten the Supermax yet? Or
no.
He's in line for it, right?
No, but he can't get it anymore because he got traded. Because you have to, the Supermax is only if you're with the same franchise. I think I read that.
So he's probably upset about this.
He lost a bunch of money. I mean, he can start doing the kind of thing they do where if his next, I think I was reading about this. I got into the weeds on this, but I think if his next extension is just a 3-year extension, then he can cash in on the whole 10-year thing after that and start getting those big deals. So he'll be all right.
His contract's up now at the end of this year.
I think he's got one.
Because I read that they didn't want to. They didn't want to pay the Supermax.
They don't want to pay the Supermax, which is the Supermax these days is ridiculous. It was going to be like 5 years, $350 million or something. Like that's $70 million a year. It's just
they don't have enough players. They don't have enough players on that are splitting the money. That's their problem. They, I don't know, but we were feeling pretty good about them, and then now this happens and injuries, and I don't know. It'll be interesting tonight, and I don't know who Sacramento will have on the court, but it might not make any difference. So anyway,
speaking of feeling good about it, and now we don't. We got all of our Gophers accolades in under the wire. I know I did. I had Marcus on. We talked about it last week. I wrote a piece about, these 3 wins have been surprising. It wasn't a shock at all that they went and lost to Michigan State. Everybody loses out there. They didn't play particularly well. But then to lose at home to Washington, I guess we know that we're right back where we were.
Yeah, I was there. And,
I saw that.
It was, I'm not, these guys could lose to anybody. They could lose to Hamlin. But their guards did absolutely, and Marcus wrote something about that today. Their guards did absolutely nothing. They from 13 minutes to 5 minutes, nobody scored but Garcia. Yeah, and nobody really looked to score outside of Garcia. Mike Mitchell Jr. Now that they because the other guards they had last year left. now that he had to be something, he's terrible.
Yeah.
He didn't do a thing. And Parker looked like Grandpa Parker. He was horrible. He didn't do a thing. He's
who's
probably
older? Who's older, Parker or Luka?
Oh, I think Parker's turning 26 here pretty soon.
I'm gonna find out who's older.
Yeah, I think Parker's turning 26. Somebody told me, but he looked old and slow. And Washington had this one guard, Harris. I never heard anybody on their team, but he was making all his shots, and but they had a chance to win it, and they were getting a little run, and then this idiot referee called a taunting technical, which was stupid. There was nothing going on.
Yeah.
Really. Somebody just barking at somebody, but it was a horrible officiating crew, but not necessarily not necessarily robbing the Gophers, except in a couple of occasions. They were just bad. And every time they blew the whistle, you had no idea what they were going to call. Yeah, it was I said before on Twitter, and I thought that it was the biggest must-win game of Ben Johnson's career, because you had to get your momentum back and try to save your job. I don't think he has it. I think he's gone. I don't think there's anything that can save him now, because Coyle had mentioned last year that he thought they should make the tournament this year. Now that was before everybody left.
Before all the right.
But he could look at Plitzowite and feel like he's capable of hiring a coach.
Yeah.
So I would think that Ben's and it's under $3 million. So to buy out, switching modern sports isn't much to buy out a basketball coach. So I don't think he can make it now. They got about. They got about a 60% chance to finish in the bottom three and not make the playoffs.
Not even make the tournament. That's a tough one.
There's a lot of bad teams in the Big Ten. Men's basketball.
Yes,
a lot of terrible teams. This Oregon's supposed to be rated. They're terrible. I watched them I just happened to turn on a game against Nebraska. They probably came back and won it. But they had 17 points with 5 minutes to go in the first half. Oregon, they're allegedly rated. College basketball can't be so bad that they're rated. No. But anyway, it's I think that I don't see how he saves his job now, because they're just no good. They're no good. Somehow they won these 3 games, but they're not.
I know.
Darson Garcia is playing great for what he does, but he's not a physical guy. He's not an inside guy, and they just don't have anything else. There's nothing there. So anyway.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
And the crowd is... It's funny. You go on a Saturday morning, a lot of kids there with their mom and dad, little kids sitting up in the back a little bit. And I don't know, are we somebody letting families in on cheaper tickets or something? They said 9, they had 7,500 probably, but
I don't know. 11 a.m. start. 11 a.m. start. I was surprised to see that on so soon. You made the point. 9 a.m. on the West Coast.
Well, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. There were probably 50 people that wanted to watch that game in Seattle too, right?
College basketball with your coffee. It's like, what is? That's a very odd.
Basketball reeks right now. Who cares about any regulars?
Yeah.
The women's game's fine, but who cares about any regular season game? North Carolina's playing Duke. I heard ESPN trying to talk that out. Nobody cares.
I don't care. I don't know who does, but I don't care.
North Carolina stinks now. And, Duke's good again, but nobody, it's not like, if they're both good, they're going to play twice more when the season's over.
Right.
So,
let's wait for it.
It's 362 Division I teams. That's ridiculous to call themselves. Meanwhile, over at St. Thomas, they went again yesterday against North Dakota State. And Chris Finch was there sitting behind their bench. Jim Stewin's column today. And Connolly showed up too, I guess, with a couple other members of the Brain Trust to watch the game. And they also were proudly showing on TV during the telecast the new arena that's going to be opening this fall, no matter what the neighbors say. It's going to be opening this fall. The neighbors now got some judge to say they didn't do a proper environmental study, but the judge asked them to stop building it, but he didn't tell them they had to stop building it. Well, it's on appeal. By the time it's done, they're not going to make good citizen St. Thomas come over there and tear it down. So,
right.
So they just said, keep building it. And it's
a lot of forgiveness instead of permission happening.
It's going to be done in July. And, there's, they might as well have a picnic for the neighbors and tell them to come on over, and we'll try to have people not park on your lawn or something. So
it'll be fine. It's always fine. It's always fine. You adapt. It's a beautiful, the thing is that whole area is just hotly debated.
It's not on the neighbor. It's not on the main the campus. It's on the would be north side of Summit. It's on the over where the seminary is and over those fields. They tore down the old gym they had over there, McNamara Gym, and they built this. And I think they're going to try to put some kind of a parking ramp over there. Okay. But if you get in a parking ramp for a sporting event in St. Thomas, pack a lunch. Oh, yeah. Trying to get out on it. You're going to have to get some cops to direct traffic, that's for sure. But it looks like it's going to be perfect because it's going to be like 5,500 people, which is the Gophers would be so much better off if they had an 8,000 seat basketball arena.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it's not happening because they don't have the money now with their athletic thing. But
is Williams 100 years old now? Is that what we're at?
1928, I think.
Okay, so close.
We're getting there. I still say, bring in 2 fighter jets from Duluth and blow it up. Tell everybody to stay away from the campus today in like July 3rd or something. Stay away. Everybody get out of here. Don't be around for a week. We're going to come in and put 2 rockets into this thing and blow it up. That's the only way to get rid of it. And then clean up the rubble and start from there. And meanwhile, the Gophers, you can wait until the Wolves get their new arena, and the Gophers can play there for a couple of years while you build a mini arena over on campus. Over on campus. Okay. But there's no way you can dismantle it. There's no way you can just send a construction crew over there and say tear this thing down.
It's all bricks. It's all made out of the heaviest stuff on the earth.
Imagine the stuff they're going to find underneath it. My God, it's unbelievable.
The problem probably is though that it's all the pavilion is part of the whole thing too, or the Maturi Pavilion. Let me pronounce it correctly. The Maturi Pavilion. So like, how do you tear down one but keep the other? Like, where would anybody play for however long it took?
I think the idea was if they built something new, they would attach a mini arena to it too. But if it's an 8,000 seat arena, you can play volleyball in there too.
Sure.
It would just you'd have to have practice gyms for all these teams. And if you had a women's basketball, men's basketball, wrestling, and volleyball all going at the same time and everything else, they have gymnastics over there too, right?
They're out of,
or do they do it at their own place?
I can't remember where they do it now.
I know they practice at that old Pike gym, I don't know where they have home volleyball. So home gymnastics.
Home gymnastics is at the pavilion. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The pavilion is more valuable than Williams Arena right now.
Yes. So what would you? I don't know where everybody would play.
Maybe you divide Williams Arena, make 3 gyms. I don't know. Put a wall in the middle and put it sideways or something. I don't know.
Maybe they could play at St. Thomas while they were still getting theirs figured out.
Yeah. But then if you do that, you might have to play them. By the way, Seattle University, home of a Catholic school, home of Elgin Baylor, played there. And I think they either dropped sports completely or they de-emphasized, but they went back to Division One 10 years ago, maybe, Seattle. They're now playing Washington. Washington plays them in Seattle.
Yeah.
Great rivalry between Wisconsin and Marquette.
Marquette, Wisconsin,
Biggest game in Cincinnati every year is Xavier versus Cincinnati. Great game. There is no excuse.
No excuse.
Not to
Get them
play
on the schedule.
And as I say, if they beat you, St. Thomas, even as good as they are now, if they beat you, you're not winning the Big Ten. Okay?
No.
So it just makes no sense. It's so
doesn't make any sense.
Because they're paying like North Alabama $80,000 to come up here and play and stuff and nobody's going to go to any of those games. So
no, it's not. No, they're not.
But, by the way, our coach Plitzowite got away.
I was going to mention that.
With playing the worst schedule in the history of basketball. The non-conference schedule was rated,
yes,
I think 348 out of 362, something like that. They were in the 340s, and I was making fun of her. Well, it didn't make any difference. She can coach, man. She had UCLA befuddled for a half yesterday. They got rolling, but she just surrounded the big kid in the post and said, if they make threes, they're going to beat us. And they finally made threes the second half, UCLA. But they played pretty good for a team not having its best player. So,
well, they had to play number 4 USC and then number 1 UCLA. That's a we talked about the fall off in some of men's basketball, but that was as tough a road stretch, and they just stay out there for that, right? I think they've started scheduling those. So
although Southern Cal came and played Iowa yesterday, they were in Iowa City yesterday when they retired Caitlin's number.
Okay,
I'm very upset. I did not get a special invite to the Caitlin retirement jersey ceremony. We're having discovered her when she was a sophomore.
Probably wanted to make sure her phone was safe.
Yes, that's the other thing. And I did tweet that out saying I'll never forget the heartfelt comment the last time I saw her. You stepped on my cell phone. And that was the only real words that we have exchanged one-on-one, even though I did discover her. You
did discover her.
My press conferences always were, there were other people around, even though I did discover her. And it's amazing, though. They had 18,000 jammed into that place, including 7,000 kids wearing her jerseys. Every little girl in Iowa owns her jersey. It's unbelievable.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Just mention her name and any kind of connection to the game. You'll get 18,000 in there.
And they beat Southern Cal, and they're only. I was here, by the way, this week. I think Wednesday.
Okay. That's a tough one too.
Wednesday or Thursday, and they only had they went into that game 4-6, so they're not that good this year down there. And Lisa Bluter knew when to get out and gave the job to her longtime assistant. But the first time I was down there though with the Gophers, their sophomore year, they were happy that they had a crowd of 9,000. So it wasn't like this phenomenon. This phenomenon really started with the tournament run in her sophomore year, right?
It started when you
beat at home. Their sophomore year, they got beat at home by Creighton in the second round. That's right.
I think it started when you wrote about her, and then it picked up.
Well, I mean, right. I did,
and then it picked up from there.
Well, when she was here for the Big Ten tournament. That was right. Did they not have it? Did they had it limited seats, right? Like 9,000 was the capacity or something.
I can't.
They did, because they didn't open the upstairs like they did for the Lynx.
They did the second year though. I think the second year.
Oh God, yes, they were jammed.
By that time, there was there was no keeping them out. They were trying to get in 2 hours beforehand.
The biggest crowd in Williams Arena last year. Was men or women was her.
Yes.
For the last regular season game of the Words, because she is a phenomenon, and people like to give her a hard time, and some of the players in the WNBA have been complete jackasses, but she's handled it extremely well.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, she has. Yes,
she didn't even punch me for stepping on her cell phone.
No.
She was a little upset, but she
a lot of people would have.
Yes,
a lot of people would have. A lot of people would have.
I thought maybe when I stepped on her cell phone that, there might have been some important photos in there, like with the, like presidents and kings and queens, and Meghan Markle was probably in there with her or something. She was probably hanging around. So, anyway, it was, the women's team is, they ended up getting hammered, but they were saying on a telecast yesterday, I don't know you watch much of it, that right now there's 13 of the 18 Big Ten tournaments teams, Big Ten teams expected to be in the tournament.
Wow, so 13. That's a lot.
13.
There's a lot of good teams in that conference, so I guess it's not
unlike
shocking.
The men. Unlike
the men. Hey, before we get out of here, Super Bowl's in 6 days. I feel like the buzz is a little bit muted because people are not necessarily looking forward to the jerseys, the teams at least. I think there's interest in them. There's always going to be interest in the game.
Yeah. 128 million people watched it last year. I think it was 128 million.
Who you like?
I'm liking the Chiefs, I think.
Don't go against Patrick. Yeah.
I'm not that. I think Kansas City's defense is way underrated. Well, it's not. It's rated pretty good. I just don't think people are aware how good it is.
Sure.
But I'm still not a huge Hurts fan, even with his great game against Washington. And I don't know. I like them. I like the Chiefs because I think Buffalo somehow beat the best team in the NFL, and then they beat Buffalo. And however that was done, if Patrick wins this one with no receivers, though, it'll be on. I got a hunch Philadelphia is going to have an answer for Travis Kelce in the 12-yard pass, but I don't know. What is the number, by the way? Kansas City by a couple or what?
Yeah, I think it opened very small. It's a tight window.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I would think Viking fans, just for old time's sakes, got to be rooting for the Chiefs, don't they? They could never root for the Eagles fans, especially anyone who ever went out for the championship game.
Yes. No.
Yeah. No. It would not be good. No.
So. We're coming up pretty soon on 50 years since the Vikings even made it to a Super Bowl, Patrick. So
it is incredible. Well, next season is the 50th anniversary, right? 76 was the last year.
Yes, 76
and
was last year.
They were getting Stewie Boyd and a couple other guys have told me that they were getting older by then. They were not at their best. The best they ever were was probably in Tarkington, when they went in 73 and played that young Pittsburgh team that was not, they were just learning and they only had about half their superstars they ended up with. That's the one they should have won, but Tarkington had a bad shoulder that day, and that's what the excuse became. They couldn't throw the ball down the field at all. So I don't know what it was.
The only score they had was a defensive touchdown in that game, I think, or a field goal or something. I can't remember what it was.
I was at that one. I covered that one, and that's when I sat between Jim Murray and Red Smith and said, "Here we are, boys, three of the greatest sports writers that ever lived." And Red Smith thought it was funny, and Jim Murray looked at me like I was an object on the bottom of his shoe. Anyway, but I had an excuse, hung over to the teeth in New Orleans. Oh, man.
It's a tough
My
place.
drinking days, I did not look forward to those trips to New Orleans. It was awful. They wouldn't throw you out, Mike.
No.
They wouldn't tell you to go home. You could just stay, I saw my friend Mark Wicker just has written a book about Don Drysdale, and he sent it to me. I haven't started in on it, but he's a great pitcher. Also, the greatest Scotch drinker I have ever seen in my life.
Okay.
one night I was leaving the Marriott Hotel to go out and hit Bourbon Street and other places, and it was about 8:30 at night, and I got home a little. I missed curfew. It was about 6 a.m. when I came back, and Drysdale was still sitting at the table, talking to the same people he was talking to when I left 10 hours earlier. I was very impressed, and there were empty little glasses.
Those little glasses, yep.
There'd be 75 of them in front of them. It was
lungs hurt just thinking about it.
I think Don was happily married then, so I won't mention the companions he had at the table. But anyway, it was a very impressive drinking performance. I'll tell you that.
Maybe on that note, we should leave the people be. We'll talk Super Bowl next week, among other things. Patrick, be well. Navigate this big snow. Any snow is big these days.
I think it already stopped. I just looked. I just grabbed the paper off the step. By the way, let's mention Randy First's piece in some paper.
Terrific.
Randy First, dogged old Randy First. I've been saying for a year when I saw him there, what's he doing now? Well, we found out he did this thing on two little girls in Minneapolis who got murdered in 1963. Their bodies were found out in right out here, Medicine Lake, and Medicine Lake, and it's incredible piece, incredible amount of work, and somebody said that we were having trouble with the link, but I read it in the paper, and it was fantastic. So
it was great. I read it too.
The other thing in there, Mike, there's a note that Jim Parsons was working in the courthouse graveyard there all overnight. They used to have an overnight person in there. He was in the home of in the little apartments of the families when the girl was missing at 3 a.m. talking to him for a piece. So that was a little different time in newspaper.
Yes, it was.
We were your only source back then. So
seriously,
anyway.
different era indeed.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.